You show me what you got. I'll tell you where to put it.
I'm pulling them right now because it feels good.
Oh, I mean, Finnan really is a fucking babe. I mean, the accent.
Welcome back, Pot Coven, to episode 3 in our installation of divination episodes. Today we are going to touch on a pretty commonly practiced divination, a divination
tool.
Yes, tool. That is actually what I was looking for. So, before we get going into that, we are just going to let you guys know what we are up to this week. Jasmine, what are you up to this week?
Well, last week I talked about my court card masterclass, which is still, if you're listening to this in January, that's the time to buy it. That's the time to sign up for it. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, it is a 50-minute lecture video as well as a PDF of the notes from that video for all of my visual and auditory learners out there. And then if you're hearing this before January 27th, that's actually when the live is going to be. I'm going to answer your tarot questions on a live call for everybody, only if you sign up if you purchase the Court Card Masterclass. I will say that this week, though, I've actually been recording lessons for my next course, which I'm very excited about. I will just give one hint that it has to do with astrology. I will be talking about it more shortly, but recording the lessons has been really fun. So I'm excited. I'm definitely still invested in the Court Card Masterclass, so don't worry about it. I'm still excited, still pushing it. You can only get it in January. It will come back around in December when I do the Advent calendar again, but that's like 10 whole months where you're not going to be able to have access to it. So yeah, hop on that now. And then for all my astrology lovers, keep an eye out on my page, come back here, listen to these again, and I will tell you what the next course is going to be. All right. Jess, I want to know what you're up to.
Ooh, so I've been fairly busy doing some personal healing at a retreat that I went to this past week. So I'm still very much pouring my energy into the Loving Dimension, my private Facebook group I talked about last week. This week, it will have already happened. No, it won't. If you listen to this the day that it comes out, I am recording a guided meditation for the group on Saturday. I just upped my prices. The group is now a membership fee of $11 a month, and you get the access to my guided meditation, group Reiki healing, journal prompts every week, sound healing, and really whatever my intuitive soul decides to throw at you at any given moment. So that's what I'm working on for now. You can find that at the link in my bio on my Instagram page, loving/incantations. What are you up to, Ella?
Okay, well, number one, I'm killing it on TikTok this week and last week. I'm pretty proud of myself and my little videos. If you don't follow me on all my socials, pretty much all of them are at the.celestial.rose. But yeah, I'm having a fun time making some content. But if you have personal burning questions that you want to ask, if you need guidance on your craft, your witchcraft craft, not like your crafts, if you want to talk about astrology, if you need a mini tarot reading, I actually just signed up with Hey Hero. My questions right now are only $10 a pop, super reasonable. You can hop in there and ask me a question and I will get to respond to you personally with a video explaining basically as much in depth as I can go. And then the other option, if you want to just keep working with me and have access to me basically, constantly throughout the month, not constantly, but, at least a few times during the month, and you want to like have a meeting and sit down and you want to get a little bit of, like witchy homework, my Patreon is open. Most of my tiers are $10. I have a bigger one for $20 where I actually send you stuff if you want like the tools and the materials to work with. But yeah, all of that is in the link in my bio on Instagram. But if you're having any trouble finding any of the things we're talking about, please just send us an email at powerof3witchpodcast@gmail.com and just let us know, hey, I heard about Jasmine's course, or I heard about the Loving Dimension, or I heard about, Ella's questions and all that. Just literally send us an email and we can send you links. So there's also that. And as a group, we have a group Patreon. It's pretty dope. We are putting out content videos and giving you guys little extra goodies and all that on there as well. So without further ado, let's pull some damn cards, bitches. I don't know
Hell
why I was
yeah.
so aggressive about it.
I don't think you mentioned it in the intro what we're actually doing.
I kind of did. I said we were going to talk about tarot. Wait, did
you?
I?
I don't think you did.
Oh my god.
You left it hanging.
Like a well-known divination tool.
Oh,
So
that's
we're
right, because
left
I got caught up on the word. Yep, no, you're right. In suspense. Now you know. We're doing tarot today, folks. We're pulling cards.
Well, I mean, I think we're doing cartomancy more so, right?
That's true. It's not just tarot.
Jess, are you doing oracle or tarot?
I believe this is an oracle deck because I have not seen any of the normal cards here.
Okay, cool.
I
brought my tarot and my oracle, so I'm ready for both.
Oracle.
I liked it. It's silly.
We're just making up words now. I'm gonna start our own dictionary.
I'm trying to think what a toracle deck would be. Like, how exactly do we make a tarot deck more oracle? I don't work with oracle cards at this point in time.
My opinion of oracle cards versus tarot is, okay, so honestly, like what I've figured out most recently in doing tarot readings for my husband to help him like just kind of figure out what he wants to do in life and figure out a good direction for himself. I've come to the conclusion that tarot cards rarely give you answers, like definitive answers, and it's more just like they're like, hey, you're having a dilemma between two things, and you can kind of like, it's kind of more of like a self-help tool or like a self-exploration tool, or like really something that is kind of already going to tell you about what's going on, but just lay it out for you to see it in order to like, confirm things to yourself. Whereas like oracle cards are more of like affirmations and like, hey, you're doing great, keep going, or, shine bright, or like the goddess is calling you, like things like that. Like it's a little more like affirmative, and like most of them are pretty positive too, where they're just like, yeah, you're doing great, you beautiful son of a bitch. And it's like, yeah, thank you, oracle cards.
It's so true. I always tell people that the best tarot readings affirm what we already know. Because we tend to, I mean, like a big issue with being a human is like, yeah, you might know something deep down, but you actually don't trust that. You're like, but also maybe this. So then when tarot says, no, it was that thing that you were already thinking, tarot is just like a gateway to trusting yourself more.
Yes. No, I love that. I saw that a lot with my husband when we were doing his reading, like maybe a month or two ago, and he would just basically everything he had talked to me about for like months just kept coming up in the forms of the cards, and I was just like, this is fucking insane. Like he'd be like, what does this card mean again? And I'm like, and I would tell him and he'd be like, dude, that's so weird, we were just talking about that. I'm like, oh, I know.
That's why I always ask for because generally when I'm doing tarot spreads, I make them up myself. So I've gotten good at doing my own tarot spreads. It just takes practice. It's not hard to do, but like when you're a baby, you want to ask those more like definitive or divinatory kind of questions, but it's more like, okay, what's the struggle to focus on right now? Like, where should I focus my attention? Okay, what's an action I can do? Like, what's some advice you can give? Then tarot is able to, like, really help you out. But if you're like, is this the person I'm meant to be with? Tarot's like, Two of Swords. And you're like, I don't know.
And I will say, I was going to tell you this just like privately before we even started this, but I can totally say it on the podcast too. But I have but I have rarely spent so many days in a row pulling tarot cards to myself, thanks to your January challenge. So thank you for that. And I'm like, all I can think is like, I want to make questions for every day of the year so that I just pull a fucking card every day. Because if I don't have like a to-do, I don't fucking do it. So I'm like, I love it. I'm like, yes, I've got a purpose.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it too. I'm like, okay, we'll have to do this again soon because I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
enjoying this. But honestly, here's my peek behind the curtain. Actually, before I give you the peek behind the curtain, anyone listening who doesn't follow me on Instagram or doesn't really watch stories, so hasn't seen mine or Ella's stories, I've been hosting a daily tarot pull for the month of January. So quite a few people have been joining in. It's been really fun to see what everyone does. But I actually pulled all my cards ahead of time, so I'm not pulling them on the day, but because I just knew like it's my birthday month, and I
Yeah.
just know me, I get stressed, and sometimes like it's just not meant to be. So I was like, I'm just
Hmm.
gonna pull them all. I'm just gonna pull them all right now. I'm gonna
I
take a
like
picture of
that.
them. I actually have been really enjoying it because I still get to do like the process of it every day, just maybe not the
Hmm.
actual pulling. It's just it happened ahead of time already. But I still, I forget what cards I pulled, especially now. I'm like, okay, what's the question? Then I go see what the card is, and I'm like, ooh, okay, and as time has
Hmm.
gone on, I see the themes that I didn't see when I originally pulled them. So I mean, just saying, guys, if you're ever doing a tarot pull, a daily tarot pull, and you think like, oh, it's a busy month, you can sit down and do it once and still participate. It's worth a try. I've been enjoying it.
That's pretty cool. It's like a surprise for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's and then I get to do it every day. So it's like, even if I'm, sleeping in at my boyfriend's house, and I'm not around my cards, I can wake up and go, okay, all right, which card is it?
Hmm.
What am I thinking about today?
Mm. I pulled a few for the first week, like on time, and I just took pictures of them so that I could go back and relive the magic. But I have not been keeping up with it, so my plan is to dedicate an afternoon to pulling the rest of the cards for the month. So,
I love that.
Nice.
I definitely
Yeah.
have to sometimes like catch up with a few days where I'll be like, oh, I didn't do it for like 2 or 3 days, and I'll just literally just like,
Yeah.
give myself the time and space to like ask the question, pull the cards, but then do like three of them in a row, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like it
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of gives you a little snippet of the last couple days, and you're just like, oh,
Right.
interesting.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Oh, Taro, I love you so much.
Yes.
So I sent over 3 questions in our group chat today. Um, so the questions are: what is the main collective theme for 2021? What will be the major challenge of 2021? And what action should we be taking in 2021? So these are big collective questions because that's what we've been doing in this episode block. Trying to use some divination to speak to you guys and speak to ourselves and kind of peek into what might be coming in the year ahead. I mean, especially just after the incredibly tumultuous 2020 that we all just had, and 2021 is, what is it going to be? We're trying to
Yep.
find out.
Well, and some perspective for this episode. You all will be listening to it after Inauguration Day, but we are recording it the day before. So, hopefully there's still a country for the to listen to this episode.
I know. I uh I plan my posts for the week on Monday usually, and I planned Monday, Tuesday, and then I was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let's just see how we feel. What's going on? What were you
Yep.
gonna say, Jess?
mm, um, morbid maybe.
Okay.
I'm gunning for a civil war. And I
Um.
honestly think
Mhm.
or I don't know, like, not that it's going to be like full on blown out civil war right away, but we are so fucking polarized in this world, but especially America right now. And I think that we just need this purging to happen.
I mean, like this time with the Civil War, if it really does get to that point, which I mean, I don't think it's wild to assume that it will. Um, I just think this country is too goddamn big. There's just way too many people in it who
I've
do
thought
just
that a lot.
want and need, right, so many different things. Like we just should not be one country. Absolutely not. Like this time, like someone should secede.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've thought that a few times about just like how differently people in different parts of the country like even approach things or like think about things or their value systems. And I'm like, is this all one country? I mean, I feel like prior to colonization, it was maybe not divided, but there were like, regional tribes and like, it was kind of like, yeah, like a regional setting. And now we've tried to combine all these regions into one country and make all of them live under the same rules.
Right, right. It's just, I mean, it's just wild. Just, yeah,
It is.
if you could go around and visit all 50 states, and I think I've been to like 13, and
Mhm.
maybe a bit more. They're vastly different,
Oh yeah.
and the experiences of the people are vastly different.
Mhm.
Um, it's too big. It's
Yeah.
too big.
Although to your point, Jess, I think it's 26,000 National Guard members from across the country. All MPs are assembling at the Capitol they started a few days ago and they're like going tonight and tomorrow and all that. And so far, 12 of them have been relieved of their duty at the Capitol because of their associations, basically. So,
Ah.
so that was interesting. And I was just like, okay, I'm not scared.
Dang.
They've the National Guard has been here at the Capitol. At least, I mean, the first time I saw them was Saturday night.
Mm.
There were like hundreds of them. I mean, I do live in the capital city of California, so
Oh,
big
and
state, a lot of people.
also, those MPs have been deputized so they can make arrests of citizens. Just some interesting information to ponder over from
Should
all my
kind of get
YouTube
messy.
watching. It might. So we'll just see what happens. As always, I hope for the best, but I typically prepare for the worst. So I've got my stocks for the next few days so I don't have to leave.
I don't know. It seems like for the last few presidential elections, there's just been some crazy madness shit that's gone on. So I don't suspect this year to be any less. In fact, I would think that it would be more.
Yeah, there is a difference though. I don't remember anyone having like George W. Bush flags. You know what
Right,
I mean? Like,
No,
I don't.
no.
right. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Though people did have, I mean, I always talk about that, like, oh, we don't like, no one else is wearing all this memorabilia. And yes, Trump has really done it. Like, we don't need to dive fully into that because that's a whole ass conversation. But I mean, Obama had memorabilia.
Oh, you know what? You are right. I have seen a lot of people wearing like Hope shirts and
Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that.
yeah,
You're right. You are right.
right?
I'm with
I never
her.
did. Right.
I'm with
Like,
her. Oh, I forgot about that. Fucking
right.
Hillary.
I
I
mean, like,
hate Trump, but I'm glad she did not get elected, honestly. The Clintons scare the fuck out of me.
Oh my gosh. They were shutting down the freeways and stuff here in Oregon when she lost the last
Oh
4 years
my.
ago. Yeah,
Oh
so
like in
my.
there was crazy
protests.
shit. Yeah.
Damn. I'm so like, man, I'm so cut off from the world, I swear to God. I'm like, what's happening in America? I barely live there.
I'm
Well, I
mostly
mean,
up
Hawaii
north now.
shouldn't be a
It
part of the
really
US,
shouldn't.
so
And thank you so much for saying that on our podcast. Fuck yes. I appreciate that a
it
lot.
So
shouldn't
just to
be.
touch on the like seceding from the nation. So like Hawaii does that. Oregon, California, Washington want to like be their own group of people, whatever. I think that's fair. However, I do think that if these regions separate from the country at large, that we should be able to choose where we want to go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there should definitely be like a process or like yeah, some kind of relocation because I've thought about that a lot too. Like there are plenty of people in the South who are like, I don't want abortions to be illegal. Like, don't punish me for that. And
Right,
then there are
right,
some people like my parents in Texas who are like, yeah, make abortions illegal everywhere. Woo. And I'm like, you're libertarians. How is that
Ooh.
work? How is that working?
right, right.
The fuck?
Well, And that's just to say that it's not as simple, as, yeah, let's
Exactly.
just separate. But obviously, I mean, just the larger issue is we are absolutely too large of a country, way too many people, way too much power, way too big of a government. Like, it's gonna, maybe it'll take tens of years, but we got to figure something out. I don't think we should all be together anymore. But
Time to
slow
break
change.
up.
Um, we should pull a card for inauguration day. Just like leave it real open inauguration day.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention before that tomorrow Mars in Taurus will be conjunct Uranus in Taurus as well. So Mars, the planet of aggression, and Uranus, the planet of revelations and rapid change, and also like electricity and structures falling. Structures falling, especially with Uranus and Taurus. But yeah, so that's happening tomorrow as well. So that's fun.
Great. I'm so excited.
I'd like
We
to hear
will-
your what is your take on that energetically?
I think buildings, like literal buildings, are something we should look out for. Potentially a fire. I think that's
Okay.
like a very literal way that it could show up. I think sometimes these transits, when they happen on a more collective scale like this, um, they do show up a little bit more literally than like in our lives. Like if Mars was conjunct my Uranus, it might just be like, oh, I get this, change of energy, and I realize that I want to scrap this project and work on something else. But yeah, it's definitely a collapsing kind of energy. And I think being that it's in Taurus is very much about structures and buildings. Yeah, I think maybe arson might be committed tomorrow.
All right. Well, hopefully all those people committing these crimes tomorrow, or while you're listening to this yesterday, live stream, just like the idiots who posted the insurrection on our Capitol. So, you know, hopefully it's a bunch of dummies with cameras and they just pretty much catch
That's all any of
themselves.
this is anymore, just a big basket of entertainment
Right.
for the
I
masses.
do,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah. I did tell my husband like earlier today, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a reality show, but it's our real life right now. And it is fucking sad. It's funny, but sad. Like,
I
if this
just
were a show, I'd watch it and be like, ooh, the drama. But like,
right.
knowing that it's my fellow countrymen, I'm like, oh, guys, stop. Why?
I know, I know. I had some Canadian friends like a month or two ago talk about how they like just checked out of politics, and I'm like, oh, what what a treat that would be to live in a country where you could just decide to check out. It's not really plausible at this point in time.
It's not. We got some shit.
I
But
used
hey,
to check out of politics once upon a time. Good old days of my youth,
right?
my formative
Yeah.
years.
All right. Well, let's pull some cards. Let's pull one for Inauguration Day. And hopefully they're like, yay, it's going to be sunshiny and beautiful.
It was fucking sunshiny and beautiful today, and I loved it. I vote that we fold this timeline and skip to the next 4 years. Just right over this.
All right, I pulled a card.
Lay it on us.
I pulled the Empress.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I mean, the Empress is a card of creation, making stuff. I usually think of her like very much as an artist, of course, a mother. That's like the most primal form of creation, creating a child, right? But it really is, for me, the Empress is about putting something like tangible out there into the world. So that's interesting. Something's coming to us. Someone's putting something out there.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool. It kind of makes me think of Bernie Sanders getting his God, I forget the actual title of the committee or whatever that he's in charge of, but he got like a good seat for like financial planning or healthcare or something like that. he's got a pretty sweet spot. So that kind of makes me think of my man Bernie. Hopefully,
Your boy.
my boy. I also got a powerful female symbol. I got the Queen of Pentacles.
I love
Um,
her.
yeah, and so I mean, knowing what I know about the court cards, and even just listening to you the last couple weeks, kind of like touch on little things. Um, it really just makes me think that as a society, we are going to spend the day collectively thinking about, like, yeah, like what we've built, what we've birthed, what, the processes and like the actual physical things that we're doing in our country and how each of us, play our part in the role of being Americans, and I don't know, that's just kind of what that makes me think of is like, yeah, like just that reflection and integration of what are we building, where are we going, who are we, and then like, making it happen. So hopefully in a good way.
Right. A lot of this feels very tangible right now. And I was
Yeah.
listening to, like working with your hands, I feel like is the energy I'm getting. So it'll be interesting to see what that actually looks like. But it does also remind me of, I was listening to Cosmic Cousins, the podcast, Jeff Hinshaw, talking about the Capricorn new moon, listening to that episode. And I only got a couple minutes into it because I only listen to a podcast for like 20 minutes a day. And most of the podcasts I listen to are like 2 hours long, But I remember him saying that there was going to be a pertinent Capricorn figure, specifically a female energied Capricorn figure in this month. So I've kind of been like, well, I mean, to me, that reads Dolly Parton. As always, she is the prominent Capricorn woman in my life. But I am curious to see who that is and what that looks like. So be looking out for ladies. Well, I mean, you guys will hear this the day after Inauguration Day, but that's where we're at right now on Tuesday night. So far, let's see what Jess pulled.
So I pulled an oracle card from, what deck is this? Beyond Lumeria. And it actually says oracle card on the fucking box. So like there you
Okay,
go.
cool. We solved it.
All right, so this card is the Star Seer, and it is asking you to listen to your deeper intuition, trust your holistic journey, dreams finding their way into being, the bigger picture, a more aligned outcome than what we expected, and a clarity of a greater path. And a line that caught me in this description here is that we might be headed towards a specific destination, but instead of that being where we end up, the journey was a catalyst for getting us to where we must go.
Well, I love that card. I love all these cards. This was great. No one pulled the tower or like destruction.
That's what I was expecting. It was the tower or like the devil, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
But yeah, no, these are actually a lot more positive than I expected them to be. I expected this to be a doom reading, and it's not. So thank you, cards, for giving us hope.
Yeah, I mean, just that card especially is like, okay, yeah, I feel very hopeful with that card. It feels like, and I don't know if you use these exact words, but like we're not there yet. I think we all know that, but but it's like just trust in the fact that like you are on the path, you are on the journey, you haven't like strayed, but you're not there yet.
I really got a lot of like anything could happen tomorrow and it's okay. Whatever it is that comes about is supposed to be happening. It's pushing us towards our ultimate destination.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
This Power of 3 episode has been brought to you by Tonic Vibe CBD products. Tonic's original CBD blends are handcrafted in small batches with purposeful plant-based ingredients. Using herbs like ashwagandha and superfoods like black seed oil, Tonic elevates the benefits of CBD to create a powerful way to heal the body, calm the mind, and restore balance. Their hemp-derived CBD and botanical blends create a completely holistic method to help you feel your best and hashtag FixYourVibe. Use code WITCHY at tonicvibes.com for 10% off your order.
This episode of the Power of Three podcast is brought to you by Shock Rubs, because sex is magic. Shock Rubs is the first crystal sex toy company. Their sex toys are made from natural crystals that bring a sense of sacredness to your playtime. These beautiful handcrafted tools are created with the intention of opening oneself up to the healing properties that crystals provide. All toys are body safe, made from the earth, and provided with love. They create harmony in mind, body, and spirit, remove blocks caused by sexual trauma, create deeper intimacy with the self and with your partner, and even encourage self-awareness and mindfulness. So use the code WITCHYWISDOM on shockrubs.com at checkout for 10% off your purchase today.
Okay, well, let's shuffle and we'll answer the question, what is the main collective theme for 2021? So, when pulling cards like this and speaking about a collective theme, this is bigger than the individual. I generally pull cards for clients and for myself, so they're very personal readings. So this is very big. This is a big question, like what is going to be the overall theme? Much like with 2020, what was the overall theme? Disagreement.
Chaos.
Tough awakenings. Those are things that were big collective themes, at least for us in this Western world, in the United States. Aggression, a lot of aggression. On a collective and for me a personal level. I'm glad that Mars is no longer squaring Capricorn and Saturn. I mean, not Capricorn, LOL. Saturn and Pluto. Mars is not squaring them anymore, thank goodness.
That was some rough shit.
It was.
I literally couldn't do anything. I spent most of my days just literally like trying very hard to accomplish nothing. I'm like, but I want to do stuff, and everything's around me is like, no, don't do stuff.
I just wasted so much energy being mad at people when I should have just been mad at the government and billionaires. Right. Like those people within the government and those people who are billionaires, mad at them, but like, I just spent so much time being mad at individual people, and that's not what I'm trying to do anymore. That's what I learned with the last Saturn, Mars, was it Mars and Pluto that squared off in December, I think, for the last time? I can't remember now. But yeah, I that was the third time this year, and I was like, you know what? I'm done being so angry. I'm done being so angry at people.
Yeah.
Anger has a purpose, and there's a lot of things to be angry about, but like...
Usually anger stems from sadness or some other underlying emotional.
That's
right.
I was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, 2020 was full of a lot of sadness. It was really sad, and I think everyone reacted with being angry and scared and frustrated.
Yep.
But we're out of 2020. We still have the same world going on around us, but new energy. It's gonna look different.
New energy.
New
So I had a card fall out of the deck at me, and I'm going to take it.
Yes.
Because it felt like it was supposed to be here.
Cool. What is it?
The deck threw surrender in my face.
Oh.
So
wow.
I think for a lot of us this year, we're going to really need to learn to loosen control, to stop forcing things, allow for synchronistic opportunities to happen for us.
Yes. No, I feel that a lot. I think you're very right. Yeah, it's going to take a lot to bring our country back into any form of unity, and it will make all of us look inside and realize things we can cut out. And I like that. I really actually love that card. That's pretty dope.
There's probably going to be many, many deaths and rebirths on personal levels, collective levels.
Mm-hmm.
So
regional levels.
Remain open and flow.
Yeah. Surrender sounds good. That sounds like a good vibe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled the King of Wands.
Oh.
And for me, the kings are one of the last cards that I was able to create a relationship with and really understand what they're saying. I think because I just also have not a great relationship with older masculine energy, which that is what the kings are. But at this point in my life, the kings are about service. It's about having learned lots of lessons throughout life. You have wisdom. I usually think of the kings being like 60 years old. So they've learned a lot of shit. And they've also spent enough time focusing on their own shit that now they're able to dispense knowledge in other people and be of service to other people. Like, think of what a king did. A king ruled a kingdom. And yeah, some people did a really horrible job with it, but a lot of kings respected, being the king and serving their people. So, at its highest vibration, I think the King of Wands is about, especially in this day and age now, how are we showing up when we are performing? So specifically, how are we showing up online? Being very cognizant of that and recognizing that every time you do show up online, people are watching, people are listening. How do you want to show up? What do you want to say to people? And just being really cognizant of that. The King of Wands, I don't have a super wonderful relationship with. So when I first pulled it, I was like, oh, gross. Because he can be on his lower vibrations, like manipulative and showboaty and like, ugh. But, high vibe King of Wands is about like, yeah, I know how to communicate things to people. I know how to show up in this way. I know, like, they're kind of flashy. King of Wands is kind of flashy. Like, the wands are all sexy, except for the page, because I think of the page as a child, so not sexy. But they have that energy to them that's kind of like exciting and thrilling. So for me, it speaks to, yeah, social media specifically and how we're showing up there and what we're actually trying to do there with our voices,
I think that that's extremely pertinent to our society at this moment. Yeah.
Yeah. After 2020, when it was like, I think most of us, on a collective, were just like vomiting online.
Oh God, it was a hellhole. Dude, I almost I mean, me and my dad have always had pretty intense, deep conversations about things, but there's never been a time that I remember having so much conflict with him. And this year, really forced me to just face the fact that we do not agree on plenty. And, we both basically just had to be like, okay, do we save our relationship or do we try to battle out who's right? And, and it just came to a point where we were both just like, you know what, hands off. I don't fucking care what you care politically or whatever. I just love you, truly to our essence. Yes, we have a good relationship and we love each other. But it was just, there was a couple months during this year that I was just like, oh, can I even post this? Yada, 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 questioning myself. And, so I think that's very pertinent. Just remaining truthful to yourself, but also being able to not nuance things, because you don't want to lie or sugarcoat shit, but just having respect for each other, for fuck's sake.
Right.
Show up out of love, not out of hatred. Be like, I love you people, that's why I want to talk about this.
Right. The King of Wands is wise. All the kings are wise. They have wisdom. And so it's like, okay, let's all reflect upon how we showed up last year and learn from it. How do we want to show up now?
I love that. I
think
that's an excellent message. I got the Six of Swords, which I think is great. I always imagine it as a water birth, not in a literal sense, but just in that metaphorical sense, because the image is typically a boat going over water, and it can even herald trips that you're going to take over oceans and such. But just for any of you who have not given birth or who have not had positive experiences during birth, the amount of strength and inner power that you have to summon to yourself in order to get yourself through the most painful, literal body ripping experience of your life is unfathomable until you're in it. Like, you have no idea the strength that it's going to take you to like get through labor and birth until you're literally in the middle of it and you're like, wow, there's no out. You cannot hit stop. You cannot pause. There's no backing out. There's no whoopsie, I don't want to do this anymore. You're literally like half a human is hanging out of you and you just got to keep going, you know? And so when I look at this card and I think about our society, I really think that it calls to the fact that even kind of what your guys' cards were saying too is just like really taking a deep look at yourself. And even though it might not always be pretty and it might be extremely painful and you feel like you're literally about to die, it's necessary and it is beautiful and it is going to bring you out on that other side as almost a completely different person. Not like your personality will change, but just you'll have this inner understanding and this inner strength and this like love for yourself and for what we're doing as people in order to make it through and really make this year like not terrible.
I love the water birth is what you think of with that card. Well, because like the phrase I always think of with the Six of Swords is rite of passage, and like having a child is a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because as you were talking, you know, I was really taking it all in, and I was thinking about like, because yeah, instantly you were like birth. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a rite of passage. Like that's so cool. And then I was like, you know what? But that's giving birth is a very physical thing, and the like changes that go on within you are a very energetic thing, and yet swords is of the mind, and so it's like rites of passages are things that we have just deemed in our society to be a rite of passage. Well, because like one of the rites of passages is losing your virginity, and virginity is a construct, you know. Losing your first tooth, getting married, having a child, getting your period. So it's like, what kind of mental shifts also happen when we go through our rites of passage, you know? I don't have the answer, but I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that's kind of, like you're going through a process or like an initiation to come out as, you know, basically an elevated version of yourself.
Right. Because it's like, think about yourself, like losing your first tooth. Scary as hell. But then afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm growing up.
Yeah.
Having a baby, scary as hell. And then you're like, oh my God, I have a precious little angel now. Like losing your virginity. It's like, it's an experience. But then afterwards, you're like, now I'm a sexual being. It's like, there's this shift in your mind that happens afterwards.
Yes.
I love that card for us. Surrender, paying attention to how you show up, learning lessons about how you show up, and I guess I feel like surrendering into the rites of passage and recognizing that that's what's going on. Yeah.
I have to say something not entirely off topic, but not totally on topic either. So, you were talking about like losing your virginity and then feeling like a sexual being or whatever, and I could not help but think that I feel like a bunny rabbit sexually. So like the soft, cuddly little creature, you're probably not really that sexual, but you're gonna fuck. And
I love that.
BTF.
But you're gonna fuck. Well, I mean, I'm 30 now, so I've just entered my sexual prime, so I feel ya.
Wow, I never considered that. Yeah, your 30s are technically your sexual prime. Like, you've got some experience. I mean, you know, a lot of people. And, like, you've kind of, like, gotten used to your body being naked and jiggling around someone else. Like, yeah, I'm really excited to be 30 now. Bring it.
It's great so far. I have no complaints.
No complaints.
This episode of the Power Through podcast has been brought to you by BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp is an online platform with licensed therapists who are ready to help you wherever you might exist across the multiverse. Now, you must be 18 years or older to use this service, And BetterHelp is not a crisis line, but you can start communicating with someone within 24 hours. They have financial aid available to qualifying individuals. This is a secure, convenient, and affordable platform for your counseling services. Use the URL betterhelp.com/witchy to get your first week free.
This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked at-home health testing system. Let's Get Checked is all about personal health testing, making healthcare and health screening open and patient-led, empowering people to use technology in a simple but powerful way, and giving greater control to their personal health. They have a range of tests, including STD testing across all genders, fertility tests, celiac tests, general wellness, and more. Use the code WITCHY on letsgetchecked.com at checkout for 20% off your purchase.
All right, so question number 2. I mean, it's technically 3 because we did an inauguration.
Oh, yes.
That wasn't a real question.
3 will be the major challenge of 2021.
Mega challenge.
If last year was anger, dealing with anger, I would say that was a big theme. I think everything can go back to the fact that of anger.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a large umbrella that I think can encompass a lot of 2020.
I still gotta go with sadness as like the overarching theme.
Right. Sadness, hurt. That's very true.
Fear.
Anger that comes from sadness. Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fear
Yeah, it's got some
hand
roots.
in hand.
Oh. I'm pretty sure you pulled this card, technically. I got King of Swords.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I pulled the King of Wands.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was.
Oh, we got another king. The kings are coming out, baby. Okay.
A wise year. Pulled a master number.
Oh, that's good. Hey, wait. No, this is challenges. Whoops.
Could go either way.
Okay, I pulled a major arcana card. Well, then let's talk about the King of Swords first.
All right.
Since that's what we discussed first.
Yeah. All right. So, obviously it's going to be, I don't know. I feel like it speaks to power struggles a little bit, or like, I don't know, like not debates necessarily, but yeah, like intellectual ventures where, I mean, kind of similarly to 2020 where everyone thinks they know what's what and all that, where it is probably going to be, especially with like COVID vaccines rolling out and like continued lockdowns or shutdowns or even openings, reopenings as well. It's just, I think it heralds one of the challenges as being like, okay, who's got the loudest voice or who's got the best talking points or, that kind of shit. So, yeah, a lot of using your words to tell the world how big your dick is kind of energy.
Yeah. Be cautious of the words of men in power. I mean, I think that's valid all the time. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that specifically pops up for us,
Mm-hmm. We will see.
We will see. Jess, what did you pull?
I pulled the journey to wholeness.
Oh. Ooh, how will this be our challenge? Okay, I'm intrigued.
So to me, that would be like, how do you find your wholeness? How do you fully accept yourself, and find your soul, the parts of your soul that is fragmented, and returning them? But like on a collective level, like there's so much of our country that's fragmented right now, so polarized, and I think it's really going to be us coming together ultimately, as much as we want to continue to separate, but that's not going to get us anywhere. If we want to change and do anything, we have to come together.
Well, yeah. I mean, just building upon what we were talking about before about seceding and whatnot, and realizing like, okay, yeah, that's a lot more challenging, than just like, we're divided, we should divide. It's a lot more challenging than that, and there is some unity that needs to happen if that were to be the future that we go into. Like, we can't just like yell at each other and split up, because it's just not that simple. There needs to be some sort of wholeness. There needs to be something that can connect us. There needs to be something that, it's like finding common ground, right? What is the common ground? Feels like we don't have any right now, but that's the challenge, I guess.
Mm-hmm. The line that stuck out to me is acknowledge the full spectrum of the picture.
Ooh, yeah. I see why people like oracle cards. They're yummy.
Yeah, I like that your cards were listening to us talk about seceding, and they were like, nah, bitch.
They're like, you guys are not correct. Sorry.
Right. They're like, you're a bunch of idiots. Shut the fuck up.
You know what I specifically love about these cards? I don't remember I don't remember if you remember, but I don't know if you remember. One of our first few episodes, we were talking about how I'm an alien from Lumeria.
Yeah.
And now I have a deck that's specifically beyond Lumeria, and they're like directly channeling through me through these cards, and it just feels epic as fuck right now.
I love it.
I love that. Well, did you also know that there's Lemurian quartz crystals?
Yes.
I don't know what they look like though.
I'll send you an Instagram account where I see them. But yeah, they're interesting. They have like lines across them that almost look like, I don't know, like barcodes or like data lines. It's really interesting.
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds like Jess for sure.
Yes. All right, what'd you get, Jasmine? Oh, after your burp.
I don't know if I tried to not get that on the mic. I mean,
you can barely hear it. I'm just
I don't know, if you're gonna burp on air, you might as well go all the way.
I know, I should have just done it. Well, I have been recording videos for my new course. And I can't sit and talk for 20 minutes without burping. And it's just like, I have to say in the course, and I always burp in threes at least. It just like takes a while for all of it to get out. Now that I'm talking about it, I have like a little bubble right here. But it's just because I'm thinking about it. If I think about burping, then I burp. Anyway.
Let's have a contest. Not right now.
Sorry, I had to get those out. Those are like, that's just air. Like, I just catch air. There's nothing that's going on there. Anyway, if you've ever taken a course from me, which I know plenty of you that listen have, but anyone who hasn't, like, I will burp. I can't not.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, the card that I pulled is the Chariot reversed. Okay. I haven't thought about it at all. I literally pulled it and then was just listening intently to you guys. But the Chariot is about journeys, right? Like, I use this deck that I'm using is the Modern Witch tarot deck, which is like a very femme modern Rider-Waite-Smith. So this person is riding a motorcycle, which is pretty dope.
What? And, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Right. And so when the Chariot is reversed, the journey is not tangible. It's not in the mundane reality. It is internal. And so the big challenge is, are you going to go on the journey? Are you going to open yourself up to that change? 7 is the number of truth, about discovering new truth. And the thing is, discovering new truth involves asking more questions. And being okay with maybe not getting the answers, maybe getting different answers. So the challenge this year is, will you open yourself up to changing your beliefs from 2020? I would say, hell yeah, I'm ready. 2020 didn't feel good on a personal level. Not talking about anything to do with society, because that's a whole other conversation, but on a personal level, it didn't feel great. So I'm ready to open up and ask new questions and get to new places and figure stuff out in a different way. So I feel it.
Mm-hmm. I like how you asked if you were ready to like make the choice to change, but even if you choose not to change, you want to stay where you are, it's not like these lessons aren't going to come and hit you in the face. That you're going to experience all of the same energies and all of these same lessons, but it's your choice whether or not you take them.
Right. Like the card you pulled for what is the main collective theme, which was surrender. It's like, are you going to fight against the change or are you going to surrender into it? Like, it's going to be there either way.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Whenever Chariot's reversed too, I always think like, hey, slow down. just think about it first. Slow down a little bit before you go charging off the cliff.
Right. Because when it's upright, it's like, woo, buddy, let's go, let's do it. But when it's reversed, it's like, no, let's think about it.
Yeah, let's have a game plan first before we charge it, okay?
I find it so interesting that Chariot is the card associated with Cancer. The sign, not the disease, not the virus. Virus, it's a disease. I don't know. What is cancer?
Mutated cells.
Mutated cells. It's a mutation. It's a fucked up mutation. But no, talking about the sign Cancer, its tarot card is Chariot. And I find that interesting, especially looking at that card that I just pulled because it's, some dope looking femme on a motorcycle. Like, now I need to catch myself because I have long said, maybe not long said, but at least like the past year and a half, I have been preaching about how Cancer is the most punk rock sign. Like Aries is metal. Like, that's Aries.
Yeah, like the big hair and...
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But Cancer is punk rock and like very much pop punk too. Because Cancer is just like, we always just peg Cancer as being emotional and that it means sad because that's just the misogynistic belief that we've been programmed that emotions are only sad emotions and not angry emotions. Cancers are crabs. They've got little snaps and many of them have prominent Leo placements. So they're fucking spicy as hell. And when they have anger, they need to express that anger. And so they're going to play instruments badly and sing badly, and it's going to sound great. They're punk. They're punk as fuck. So I guess, sure. Yeah, Chariot. Go on the journey, babies.
Well, and Cancers will hit those depths too. Like they'll go on the journey, whether the emotion is anger, sadness, happiness, hunger, like they don't fucking care. They will go on the journey.
Right. They have to go on the journey. Otherwise they'll get a stomach ache, IBS. They'll get constipated or something. I swear there's no Cancer sun or moon person out there that doesn't have some sort of gastrointestinal issues.
Dude, one of my closest Cancer friends actually has stomach ulcers that she deals with, and it has been for years. I didn't even make that connection. That's pretty nuts now that I think about it.
Right. Well, because it's an emotional thing. They are so feeling. And unlike Scorpio, who also feels but likes to pack it away into a deep subconscious place, Cancer feels it very viscerally, on the edge of their skin, and so their body really reacts to how they hold emotions. So yeah, stomach issues, intestinal issues, hips, having tight hips, or crying in pigeon, that's very Cancerian. Okay, the final question is, what action should we be taking in 2021? What action should we be taking? I love asking the tarot for action cards because I think they're really great at telling us, what's something I can do right now. I like that. I like having a practical application and use for tarot. So let's see what the cards say.
Ooh, random question before we answer this question. Do you think that you could design a workout plan based off of the tarot cards that you pulled? Actionable? I don't know. It just came to me. Just go with it.
When Bridget Esselmont of Biddy Tarot had a podcast, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a podcast. Definitely her original podcast is not out there anymore. I don't know if she's still doing something. She interviewed someone who created a workout and food plan from using the tarot. And I can't remember because I listened to this probably 3 years ago or something. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it was like, but her and a bunch of her friends were doing it and like really loved it. And that was a portion of the interview, them talking about that. So
That sounds powerful.
Yeah, it's definitely plausible. I think it would be more so like total health, because there's plenty of cards that I think you could look at and be like, oh yeah, 8 of Wands, today we're going for a run. But then like, you might pull the 4 of Swords, you're like, tight, I'm gonna rest. you know? Oh shit.
Oh my.
I'm so sorry for anyone
Microphone down.
who has headphones on right now. Woo. I just kicked my microphone off my desk. Sorry, everyone.
You're so talented.
Swear this isn't my first podcast. Okay, all right. Asking the question. Okay. Did we all pull?
Yes.
Who wants to go first?
You do.
Okay. I pulled the 8 of Swords for what action should we be taking in 2021. The 8 of Swords is absolutely a very aesthetically interesting card if you're using a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Generally, it shows a person who is tied up, they're bound, their eyes, they've got a blindfold on, and they're surrounded by swords, and yet they're standing in like the teeniest, tiniest stream of water, right? Numerologically, 8 is about energy, karma, money, power, cycles, all of that stuff, like the energy that you're putting out and the energy you are receiving. So a lot of times when I'm working with the 8 of Swords, I think about how your mind and what you're thinking controls your reality. So the person in the 8 of Swords probably thinks that they're fucking trapped. They're surrounded by all these swords. They can't see anything. They can't use their arms, but they can fully use their legs. And actually, if they move forward, they're going to be fine. Like the swords are just like around and behind them. But in front of them, there's nothing. So I think it is about being pigeonholed to your thoughts, and recognizing that you have more control over your thoughts than you believe, and that all of your thoughts are not something that you have to believe in. So as far as an action to take, I think it's about recognizing that you have power over your thoughts and recognizing that your thoughts shape your reality. Not every aspect of it, because it's more complicated than that, but absolutely, to a certain extent, what you think is what you see. So yeah, work on your thoughts, babies. I know easier said than done, but let that be just an overall guiding force for you. Ella, what did you pull?
Mine feels a little like contradictory to the question, and I can't remember what it's called in the Rider-Waite, but you'll probably know because it's the second major arcana card. But in my deck, it's called the High Priestess.
The High Priestess is what it's called. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, that one's the same. I have the Druidcraft Tarot deck, so mine is just a tiny bit different. Very similar, but some of them are changed. Okay, so with the High Priestess energy, it's very much like, let's step into the darkness. Let's look inside. Let's watch the process of a bean sprouting kind of shit. Like, where's the magic? And where is the mystery? And where is, like, the mysticism that we can all look forward to? But yeah, I think as far as like an action, kind of like yours, where it's like not necessarily as much about your mind or like controlling your thoughts, but just like, yeah, recognizing that you're not powerless. And, like let's take recycling, for example. Like people think, oh, it doesn't matter if I recycle, the world's so full of trash, it doesn't fucking make a difference. But On the other hand, if 5 people decide to recycle as opposed to nobody, that's a big difference. If one person decides to compost instead of throwing stuff in the trash, that's a big difference. And just kind of recognizing that even though you don't think you're an alchemist in the world and in the society, like you very much are. You very much do have power, and your decisions do make a difference, like no pressure. But the things that we do have cause and effect. So yeah, just kind of recognizing that, that you do have power, and you are, like a forward force in this world, and just kind of recognizing it and taking those journeys through the darkness. Do your fucking shadow work this year, babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that because the high priestess, she's one of the guardians of intuition, and like that, like incredibly divine, pure knowledge of like, yeah, I know it's right. Like not I know it's right, but like, intuition, intuition, trusting yourself, trusting your power, trusting that whatever decision you do make, like you've got your back no matter what. Like I have this divine knowledge, and feminine energy, I always say, is internally active. Feminine energy has been pegged as being passive, and I think that's like a really horrible way to put it.
It's so funny because in my little book, because I like to look at it for like keywords and shit, but one of the things it says is true passivity is strong and fertile and shouldn't be mistaken for weakness or inertia. So yeah, just because you don't take action immediately, or just because you don't respond to your Facebook haters at every second, like that doesn't mean anything. Like you can be building something for long periods of time, not even telling anyone about it. That doesn't take away its power or its, or its strength.
Masculine energy, which is very necessary and can be very divine, is about acting, doing, talking. But feminine energy is about reflecting, learning, observing, thinking, growing. Like it's very active, but like it just isn't physical, right?
Yeah, you don't see it as much or whatever.
Right, but like, it's what I was saying in the Eight of Swords as well, especially with the blindfold. It is about going inward and recognizing that you have more control over your reality than you think. So that's definitely a common theme there, is like, okay, get right in your mind, get right with your intuition, like start from there. That's the action to take.
Yep. Start inside.
Start inside. So I'm very curious to see what Jess pulled.
Okay, so I pulled the Portal Keeper. And so this card is about exploring the edges of your reality, seeing between the lines, multidimensional awareness, and then unlocking your mind's potential. And the line that stuck out here is, what we experience with our physical senses is just the tip of the iceberg. Magic exists wherever you care to find it. Look between the lines to limitless discovery.
This is so cool. I think this is our most cohesive pull.
Yeah, it's gotten progressively better as we have gone along. That's pretty right up that alley. Yeah. I love it.
And I think, it specifically speaks to the collective that we'll be speaking to, our listeners here who will receive these messages, right? Like we can't, the Power of Three is not going to be listened to by every person in at least the country this year. So, I always have the belief that when we are pulling cards for a collective reading, it's for the people that are specifically going to hear it. So it's no surprise, I guess, that our listeners are being asked by our cards and our guides to focus on the magical realms inside of themselves. Focus on your mind, focus on your intuition, open the portal, lean into magic. Like that's the action to take. Continue whatever you're doing, all of you, whatever stage you're at in your spiritual practice, like keep going. That is the action. That's the thing to focus on. I love it. Yay.
Fuck yeah. I was expecting more doom and gloom from this card reading, and it was not very doom and gloomy, so I'm happy about that.
However, depending on how you react to the situations at hand, it can go very south, very fast.
Right. Well, and that's the thing about these cards as well, you know? We're reading the higher vibrations of them. Well, I mean, I think
True.
oracle decks are inherently high vibe. But especially with tarot, it's like, you know, I'm looking at the Eight of Swords still, so I'll use that as my example. But I'm like, yeah, you have control over your reality. You can step forward. But it's like, oh, but you know what else is true about the Eight of Swords is you can feel total fucking panic for everything around you. You know, like there's like whatever we've said, there's always the flip side to it.
Right. And especially
True.
with that 8, it's like the what goes around comes around. Like you're putting your energy and your focus into this negative aspect of it. That's what's going to be manifested into your reality. So yes, your mind is powerful and you have control over the things that you think. But if you're thinking about all these negative things, then that's what you're going to experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Very true. It's not like 100% like, oh, just because you have a bad thought, bad shit happens to you, or just because you have bad shit happen to you, you don't have a right mindset. Like bad shit
Unless you have
happens
an
to everyone,
8
guys.
life path number like I do.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Fair.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, wherever it is that you have control, maintain it. You know, like you don't have to like grip it like a fucking lifeboat, but if you have some semblance of control in your life at all, then focus on the things that you can do and focus on the ways in which you can make your own living experience better, and it's been a rough past year, and so this episode is going to find a lot of you in like the depths of your shit, just wondering when the fuck all this is going to blow over and life can resume. And so just to anyone who's like, but that doesn't apply to me, I'm in such a shitty place and yada da da da, like I fucking get it. I totally fucking get it. And just do your best, really, like do what you can and focus on that. That doesn't mean put your blinders on and don't pay attention to anything that's unpleasant, but just like, yeah, like in any way that you can help better yourself, like definitely try to take those opportunities. Definitely try to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Use this as a seed. Plant that seed to the beginning of the rest of your life.
Yeah. Baby steps.
Yeah, definitely. The overall action is like, make sure you have time to reflect upon yourself and what you're doing and what you're thinking and how you're feeling and your connection to spirit. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and you're allowed to feel shitty, and that doesn't mean the universe is going to only produce shitty things. Trust me. Mm-hmm. Like, the universe doesn't never responds that quickly. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You've got some time to sort it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are lovely cards. What, Jess?
Oh, I was just going to say, if the universe does respond that quickly, you're fucking folding some timelines and elevating some shit. So, like, embrace that too.
Right. That's true. Mm-hmm. Recognize yourself as a magical fucking bitch if it comes true, like, immediately, like, oh, okay, I'm powerful. Good to know.
Yes. Yeah. If things manifest quickly for you, you do need to be more diligent about your thoughts and about, like how you speak to yourself. So if you recognize that as soon as you want something, I'm one of those people where like if I start thinking about shit or if I start like moving towards a goal, like things just pick up speed almost too fast for me to handle. And sometimes I'll get scared and back out of things that I'm like, that I was excited about 6 months before, so definitely, you gotta feel your feelings, but also check your mind, let yourself have your 30 minutes of pouting or crying or whatever the fuck it is. And then you need to just be like, all right, we've moved past it. We've felt it. We're gonna reflect on it and heal from it. So it's all good.
No, you're such a Gemini. 30 minutes. Oh my God. Try like a week.
I'm thinking like specific moments, if I'm having a bad day in the middle of the day, like if I'm just angry or I'm just hormonal, I lock myself in my room and I like watch an episode of my favorite show, and I literally just allow myself to just like be fucking sad or be angry or just like feel like shit. And I don't put any holds on it. I don't put any bars on it. I don't try to talk myself out of it. I'm like, no, feel shitty. Do it. Feel shitty. And then as soon as I dare you. Yeah, exactly. It's like, come on, bitch, feel your shit. And so it's like once I can actually express that emotion for myself, I have a much easier time afterwards being like, okay, I felt pretty shitty. No big deal. What's next? Like what could I do to help myself not encounter this or to help lessen the blow of whatever this thing is. Like, for me, my kids stress me out. So I'm always like, okay, what are ways in which I can respond to them that's helpful, but also maintains my boundaries, just shit like that. So feel your feels, take those moments during the day. If you gotta fucking cry. Go scream in the walk-in or whatever it is that you do for work. Just find your spot and be like, fuck! And then move on.
I think what you said is also important. It's not just about, okay, I'm going to let myself feel this emotion. It's also being like, okay, what am I learning from this?
Yeah.
Okay, what, like, question the emotion as well. Not question is like, why are you here? I don't need you. But like, okay, are we really angry or are we sad?
Yeah, where did this come from? Let's work it back, Yeah, the feel has to come with the reflection as well. Otherwise, I get in real mopey spots real quick. So that's my advice.
Then the issue doesn't go away,
Yeah,
then the issue is just still there. So you're gonna have to keep going to the crying corner again and again.
I did a lot of that in 2020.
So say we all. Okay, so that wraps up our solo divination episodes. We are coming at you next week with an interview, as we always do, 4th episode interview. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited to learn from this person. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers about who we're talking to or what we're gonna talk about, but I'm stoked. Yeah. You guys know where to find us, but if you don't, it's Power of 3 Podcast on Instagram. That's a great place to go. That's where we're the most active. We try to post every day. You can go to the link in our bio. That sets you up with all the different ways to get in touch with us. Also, definitely follow us all on Instagram. I'm satin.saturn. Ella is the.celestial.rose, and Jess is loving_incantations. Follow us. I'm just going to leave it at that today. Usually sometimes I say some more stuff. Oh, you guys can email us too. We love emails, powerof3witchpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's the good stuff. That's the info. That's the divination, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.